Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how you can always beat Akshan in lane. A lot of people misunderstand how Akshan actually works, and because of that reason, they fall into traps where they get chunked in lane and they get solo killed, and Akshan can just absolutely take over the entire map. But Akshan has very clear strengths and weaknesses, and if you avoid his strengths and you play into his weaknesses, this champion actually becomes quite beatable. So we're going to start with understanding what Akshan wants to do in the lane. Akshan is a champion that is medium range. He plays around his auto attack range, and he's going to try to get through the early lane and get lane control so that he can then eventually have the potential to either take nasty trades onto you because you're later than him and he can use his invis, or he can gank side lanes and be a really annoying little wasp around the map. So Akshan's primary objective is to get lane control, okay? He needs to get control of the lane. If he doesn't get lane control, this champion doesn't function. The way that he gets lane control is by taking favorable trades. He doesn't really have that much power at this point in the game because he doesn't have crazy wave clear yet. If he runs static shift, the moment he gets to that point, he can of course start one-tapping the wave, but before that, it's a completely different champion. So the way that he needs to get lane control is through taking good quality trades. And what Akshan likes to do is he likes to generally either take two types of trades. Either he takes a trade around his passive, where he uses his shield as a short bursty trade, and therefore he can beat you in the sustain war. But for that, of course, he needs to auto-attack and he needs to get in range. Or what he likes to do is he likes to extend the trade, and this is something that he likes to do because there's a lot of mages, and then he just stat checks you with his double auto attack while you as a mage, you don't have any firepower in that regard. Now, this is Akshan's strength, okay? If he can trade onto you, he's going to trade on you good, okay? So we're going to talk about how we can deny those trades later. First, we're going to talk about what his weaknesses are. His weaknesses is his range, okay? Akshan has very conditional range. At its baseline level, Akshan is just a normal out-attacking AD carry, and versus a lot of mid lane champions, mostly mages, they're slightly longer range than that. So you got this balance, this line where you want to play in versus Akshan, where you want to stay outside of his auto attack range and inside of your range, and you want to then look to trade on him. And you're tethering a very fine line versus Akshan. Because a big thing that we want to prevent is we want to prevent him from taking winning trades onto us, right? So we want to make sure that we never get into his auto attack range. A big mistake that I see a lot of people make is they trade auto attacks with Akshan. Akshan just stat checks you. That's when you lose. Another way that Akshan can take trades is if he ever lands a passive hit onto you. If he ever lands a Q or one single auto attack onto you, you get marked. And the moment you get marked, you are now vulnerable, okay? Suddenly, his trading opportunities are massively branch out because he can start implementing his E. If there's minions around, he cannot randomly E on you because minions will tank up all the damage. Plus, if he ever starts hitting you, the minions will then start hitting him as well. So it's pretty hard for him to then play. But if there's no minions around and he can just swing at your face, or he lands a passive hit onto you, that's when you're going to be in serious trouble. And those are the positions that you want to avoid. So there's going to be very specific positioning versus a champion like Akshan. Now, first things first, right? One of the key things I like to do is walk in with the wave. If you start contesting the space too early right here as any type of champion, he's going to start E, swing at your face, he's going to win the trade because he's got double auto attack and a passive. You can't really win in that regard. And the mindset that you want to have into a champion like Akshan is you want to slowly chip away at his health bar while he cannot hit you in return. If you're playing a longer range champion, if you're playing a melee champion, of course, it's just making sure that you trade better into him. Trading is the key. And you see that I land this nice little Q onto Akshan and never give him the opportunity to step up close and get close to me. And at the end of the waves, you always want to be super careful. You see that I am dancing all the way back in Narnia. The reason why that's the case is because he can always swing, kill the minions, and then still get close to me. So when there's low minions or very little minions, you can just use them as a fake safety net and then still fly at your face. That's why I'm so far back. I want to prevent Akshan taking extended trades onto me at all costs. Another final thing I really want to note, whenever you play versus the champion like Akshan, is that Akshan is really stationary in regards to how he CS's minions, okay? This champion is forced to stand still to CS. That means that he's insanely prone to getting hit while he's last hitting, because otherwise it's very hard for him to actually CS the creep. Now, positioning versus Akshan, like I mentioned, you want to prevent him from getting the E on top of you, and that's why you can never get hit by random Qs. So you want to always prevent standing in the same line as Akshan and the minions. So if in this case Akshan moves down to see if he can find an angle and land a Q onto me, that means that I slightly move to the side, outside of the line of the minions, so he cannot land that Q onto me. I want to prevent him from being able to fly at me at all costs. So I'm very mindful of him trying to Q me. And right here you see that I'm trying to time my spells with this last hits right here. This minion is dying. He needs to step up and out attack like that. Otherwise he can't CS the creep. Do keep in mind that Akshan has a double out attack in the sense that he can sometimes out attack the creeps from slightly higher HP than normal champions could, because he simply has an extra out attack. And it doesn't really, it's slightly positions him a little bit longer in that same position, but it's just barely. So you see that I'm very intentional about timing my trades with last hits. And he gets one hit onto me and he instantly flies on my face, right? He gets a single out attack onto me. And these Akshan players, they just insta-send it. The moment they get an opportunity, they will take it, because they know that they win the moment they land a passive out attack, because their E can focus onto you. So use your tower in this case as a bit of defense. If you're running a champion like me, where you play Syndra, and you have a defensive spell where you can cancel his E, so that you can get a little bit closer, you can be a little bit more comfortable trading aggressively, as long as you use your E defensively. But if you're playing a champion like Victor, for example, where you do not have that self-peel on the E, you just need to be very mindful of staying outside of his range always and not allowing him to get close to you, because you will get annihilated in the extended trade. So in this position, he has a little bit linear movement. I now use my E offensively because the wave is in a good position, and he instantly tries to sneak that opportunity to once again get onto my face. And you see that I'm playing with the small wins mindset, guys. I'm slowly trading and chipping away this health bar, and I'm not really doing anything crazy. So right here, I get another beautiful trade going on to him. We've done an absolutely phenomenal job here. We can potentially land another Q. We land another Q onto Akshan. And now, unfortunately, I forget that these minions are dropping low and he can just E at me. I forgot that that was the case. So I get annihilated. And another key fundamental that you see here is that if Akshan runs Ignite, he can actually use Ignite to proc his E onto you, right? The E instantly goes onto me. It ignores the minion, because Ignite also targets you, same as if his passive would do onto you. So Ignite means that you're also not safe through the minions, but usually they won't fly at you when there's a big ass wave. They usually do it a little bit later. And you see that the moment he gets close to me, I instantly start losing the trade. So a big part of my mental energy is actually, how can I make sure that I do not take damage from Akshan to begin with? And every single time, what's going to happen is Akshan is going to usually play for push. He's going to usually push you in, because if he then drops low, he can always reset. That's like the offensive defense strategy that Akshan players will use. But if you can get control of the trades by slowly chipping away at him and making sure that he doesn't really annihilate you in return with his own trades, then you're eventually going to be in a position where you can get control of the lane. And especially post level 6, you can be in a position where if you chip away at him once, twice, 3 times, while you stay high HP yourself, you see that I'm slowly chipping away this Akshan. I'm constantly keeping the wave on my side. If possible, I'm keeping one minion alive, so he doesn't get the opportunity to play the wave with a lot of space in the lane, because that way he can potentially find E angles onto me. That's something I like to avoid. And you see that because of all that trading and the good wave management right now, I'm in a position where I'm slowly chipping away this health bar. And this puts me in a position where he's now losing control of the lane. And especially most mid laners have on level 6 a combat ultimate that's easy to use. Akshan does not have a combat ultimate that's easy to use. And that leads to a beautiful solo kill here in mid lane. And the moment you get ahead versus Akshan, that's when the lane actually becomes really, really easy. Now, there's got to be, of course, times where Akshan will get prio into you. And this is one of these times here where Akshan gets prio into me, either because he reset before me or because I killed him, I have to go back to base. And this is where a lot of people struggle. This is a situation that will manifest itself in your games whenever you play with Akshan in very frequent manners. Either he's just winning lane and he can just get prio whenever he wants and do whatever he wants, or he has the static shift where he just nukes the wave and moves. The way that you want to go about that is you want to try to put yourself in Akshan's position and see what he sees, okay? Where's Akshan gonna go looking from his perspective? Is he looking at a bot side? Look at where your team's positioning. Is it deep? Is he maybe able to gank top side? You want to try to put yourself in his perspective and do not compensate on his roams. When Akshan is going invis, don't feel the need to now chase after him or something like that, because then he can take extended trades and then it can be good for him because of the fact that he can then take this one good trade and then he has full lane control and he can roam and do whatever he wants. So whenever you play versus Akshan, you need to be aware of how to deal with enemy roams. And the best way for me to explain that is by linking my video right here that I made on my main YouTube channel that showcases exactly how to deal with enemy roams. So check that one out and let me know which champ you want to see for next time in the comments. Thank you all for watching, guys.